Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's session. My name is Iskia, and I'm one of the event planners for the Redmond Reactor Space. And before we get started today, I've got a few things to go over. So if you could please take a moment and read our code of conduct. And basically, what that is saying is that we seek to provide a respectful environment for both of our audience and presenters. We definitely encourage engagement in the chat, but we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary. Try to remain professional and try to remain on topic. We're going to be sharing useful links throughout the chat, so please keep an eye out for that. And we want to let you know that this session is going to be recorded and will be available in about 24 to 48 hours on demand on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. That brings us to today's session. It's scheduled to run approximately 1 hour, and there'll be time for questions throughout. So with that said, I would like to hand it over to our speakers for introductions.
Hello, everyone. I am Priyanka Rawat. I am a product marketing manager here at Microsoft, working on real-time intelligence and Microsoft Fabric. I'll also be your co-host for this session, so looking forward to a really engaging conversation with you all. Before I pass it on to the real-time intelligence team of experts here, I do want to request you all to start sending us your comments and questions. We have the right panel of folks who can help answer all the questions that you have. With that, Tessa, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Tessa Kloster. I'm a product manager for RealTime Intelligence.
Svea, did you want to go next?
Sure. Svea Gislin-Troina. I'm also a product manager for Real-Time Intelligence. Very happy to be here.
Kevin?
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Lamb. I'm the product manager for Azure Messaging and Stream Processing in Fabric.
Amazing. And with that, Yitzhak?
Hello, everyone. My name is Yitzhak Kesselman. I lead real-time intelligence in Microsoft.
Awesome. And I know, Yitzhak, just to set the context, I know you have some slides that you'd like to share. So I think we can get started.
Sounds good. Let me... Can folks see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So as we know, data and AI are transforming the industry, but it's especially relevant we're speaking about business operations, and we'll dive more into that. We know there are many organizations go through the same process of collecting, analyzing, and acting on data. And it's always been hard. And in the recent years, we see acceleration of that. The acceleration of data in motion, all the telemetry, logs, the business application data are coming in high speed and high throughput. And especially in the last few years with the acceleration of AI, we got better tools to help us to cope with this data. But from the other end, it also generates a ton of data as well. And we see a lot of organizations that need to have tools to act on this data. And the user expectations are higher than ever before. Customers would like to be able to act on this data as it arrives and really move their business forward. And this is relevant across all verticals of industry, although traditionally people would think that all this is relevant for more IoT or manufacturing. But as you can see, customers of real-time intelligence today are across all verticals of the industry, from retail to healthcare to telecommunications, pharma, and more. And this is where real-time intelligence changes the game. We have seen organizations that are not adapting to this new world fall behind, and those that are becoming the new industry leaders. Real-time intelligence delivers a powerful end-to-end solution, from streaming data in, generating insights, powering live dashboards, smart alerts, and all built-in AI and Copilot in actions. And this is the time to capitalize on AI and accelerate your business operations into the future. So you might be thinking this is not a new problem. So what have changed? And the reality is that the landscape is very fragmented. There are many, many products there. And to build an end-to-end solutions, our customers need to build a highly customized solution. And this solution is very costly, fragile. And last but not least, because the data is fragmented, it's very hard to generate AI insights out of it. And because of that, many don't even try. And that's where, to succeed, our customers need to have an easy end-to-end solution that empowers everyone in the organization to be able to unlock those actionable insights behind all this data. It should be easy to bring data in. It should be fast to act on those insights. And this is how to power AI to discover even the unknown unknowns. So I'm sure many of you heard about Fabric as the unified data platform for AI transformation. And Fabric brings together all the workloads from data analytics, data integration, BI, and of course, real-time intelligence into one cohesive solution. Fabric Real-Time Intelligence brings together the proven scale, reliability, and compliance of Microsoft Azure Real-Time Data Platform. And together with the no-code and self-service experiences of Power BI and Activator, it's all infused with AI. And the result is a simple, intuitive solution in Fabric, which makes it approachable to users of all roles, from business users to analysts to engineers and to developers. It operates at a massive scale. As you can see, it ingests more than 10 exabytes of logs and events per month and operates at 5.9 reliability. Real-time intelligence in Fabric makes it easy to bring data in across clouds, not only from Microsoft sources, but also sources like Google PubSub, Amazon Kinesis, or Apache Kafka. And all those streams are available in the Real-Time Hub, empowering our users to discover, manage, and generate insights and take action on this data. And this data ultimately flows into OneLake, available to other workloads in Fabric to act on it. So let's see this in action and let me know if you can hear the sound.
Every organization faces challenges on responding quickly to changes in the business or external conditions like weather. Their success depends on how quickly and efficiently they can be proactive and adapt to these unexpected changes before they impact operations or customer experience. The real-time intelligence capabilities of Microsoft Fabric are a game changer for helping organizations integrate all of their data into an intelligent solution to help improve operations and mitigate disruptions before they occur. World-leading airlines like Contoso Air fly thousands of flights every week. They can have real-time data coming in from everywhere, including from Azure, Amazon, Google, Kafka, and even public data feeds. Today, I want to connect to our flight status data stream using Apache Kafka and bring it into the real-time hub. With just a couple of clicks, I can see the data flowing in. As the data is ingested, it can be transformed and routed to multiple destinations or acted on immediately. This data is landing in EventHouse, which is specifically tailored to time-based, highly granular data. I can easily query petabytes of data on flight status, passengers, maintenance information, weather, and more, with answers to complex questions in seconds. I can also use Copilot to help me pull together separate feeds like flight and weather data. Fabric makes it easy to create interactive, operational dashboards so everyone can keep track of the data as it updates real time. This opens up new opportunities for usage of the data by more personas within the organization. On our flight operations dashboard, I can easily track concerning flight patterns and set up alerts for excessive flight speed using Activator. It's seamless to drive action within Fabric or in our operational systems using Power Automate. Prior to real-time intelligence, building a solution that ingests, monitors, analyzes, and more on streaming and high granularity data required deep expertise and complex tooling. Now, with real-time intelligence in Microsoft Fabric, we're democratizing the end-to-end experience for streaming and high granularity data, helping organizations succeed in the era of AI.
So I hope it shows how the powerful tool from one end, but also how it's intuitive. And since we announced GA, we're seeing tremendous growth. The product is GA since November, and already more than 40% of Fabric customers utilize real-time intelligence, and we are seeing more than 360% year-over-year growth. As I was saying, it's relevant to all verticals of the industry, from aviation, manufacturing, retail, telco, logistics, sports, and others. And I will pause here and would love to hear your questions and thoughts. And I see there is more in the chat, so let's take it from here. Priyanka, to you.
All right. Well, that was amazing. Thank you, Yitzhak. I do see a question from Lewis here. I'm going to be a business analyst at Next Era Energy. How can Microsoft Fabric help my role with artificial intelligence? Yitzhak, did you want to address that one?
Of course. So, as I said, AI is a critical part of Fabric real-time intelligence. There is some echo. And what makes it possible, especially in the energy, and we have several customers there, the goal is to be able to collect all your data in near real time and act on it. So in Fabric real-time intelligence, make it very easy to bring all this data in, to collect all this data, and then generate insights. And we have out-of-the-box capabilities to run anomalies on this data in near real time. And we're going to announce more capabilities around operational agents that will allow you to monitor this out of the box 24/7 using machine learning and LLMs. And also there are capabilities for business users like you to use natural language to query and get insights out of this data.
Absolutely. And then very close to that question is another follow-up question on the AI topic, Yitzhak, which is how would you recommend outside folks to gain experience with these AI operational methods?
So first of all, go try use the product. We have a very generous trial. You can get an F64 for a few months, which is equivalent, I think, for $10,000, something like that. So go try the product. There is good documentation and labs and skills that guide you through the process of how to use Fabric real-time intelligence with demos across different verticals. So go try use the product and see how it works.
And maybe if I could add a couple of things, Priyanka.
Yes.
As Yitzhak said, trying the product is probably the best way. And we have a couple, as you mentioned, even resources to help you try it, right? So there's tutorials that we have in the documentation. There's actually a great free full day training called RealTime Intelligence in a Day. It's part of a broader in a day offerings that we have. So if you've tried maybe Power BI, the dashboard in a day, there's Fabric Analyst in a day, and then now, of course, Real-Time Intelligence in a day. So we can drop a link to that program. And I think that's a great way to not only jump in, try out the product, but get some help and support as you're doing it.
Yeah. And if you can share my slide, there is a link there that you can see.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, we do have another question here. How does this compare to Elasticsearch?
Svia, do you want to take this one and I will chime in?
Yeah, sure.
This is a very good question. Again, before we go, Svia, shameless plug. So when we started the technology behind real-time intelligence more than 10 years ago, I was the first product manager on the team, and I did the competitive analysis back then against Elasticsearch. So go ahead, Svia. And many things changed since then. So
Yeah. So yeah, as Yitzhak mentioned, it's a really good question. Elastic, as we know, it's a search engine, very good for documentation and text contextual understanding. Here we are talking about end-to-end solution that provide a full architecture from ingestion to analytics to visualization, including action. It's good with sub-seconds response time from ingestion to query to visualization and also to action, as we mentioned. It has the capabilities of search, anomaly detection, also search on text, including advanced capabilities and analytics capabilities, not only for text, but also for any other type of information, including graph, including vectors and other type of data. It has a full integration to many type of connectors to with the event stream part of the RTI story. And of course, the volume of data, you can start with few gigabytes, you can go up to terabytes and even petabytes, and everything is fully managed by the service and by the the event house itself, including the indexing, including the partition, including the management of core and parallel queries and parallel user that working together. All of that and many others make a very different solution by RTI versus Elasticsearch.
Yeah, and maybe to summarize and maybe add a bit more information. So first of all, you get a managed solution that you don't need to manage. So that's kind of one big thing, and it supports out of the box resiliency, compliance, etc. as part of Azure and Microsoft ecosystem. Then you get out of the box ton of connectors to bring the data in, both streaming and also batch data that you don't get there. And you get a full end-to-end solution that integrates with your other analytics and AI capabilities. So that's kind of on the solution space. On the engine space itself, there is public benchmark that we are releasing that shows how powerful is the solution. And even in those aspects, Fabric Real-Time Intelligence is really powerful engine that really beats the competition out there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that detailed response, Tzvia and Yitzhak. I do see one interesting question. Why should customers consider real-time intelligence when real-time solutions are so expensive?
Tessa, they want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. This is a great question and a really common, I'll say, response or almost a myth even that I'll say when it comes at least to Microsoft Fabric and real-time intelligence. So we do work with a lot of customers that have this kind of preconceived notion that real-time solutions are very expensive and complicated. If you remember the slides that Yitzhak showed a few minutes ago, that's typically because in order to build the solution that really covers all of the scenarios customers are looking for, they typically have to take many different pieces and kind of stitch everything together and build it themselves. As we mentioned even a little bit, just talking about or answering that Elasticsearch question, with real-time intelligence in Microsoft Fabric, we have that out-of-box managed service, a SaaS service that really lets users kind of walk up and get all of the pieces that they need for an end-to-end solution without having to do, the legwork, the groundwork of stitching something together. And that in itself is going to save time and money. But then when we get into the actual capabilities, when we talk about how much individual pieces cost, this is where you'll find real-time intelligence is very competitive. We've actually had a number of different customers present with us at conferences like Microsoft Ignite in November that have said, they switched from, an existing cloud provider to real-time intelligence and saved, 50% or more from a cost perspective. And they saw perf improvements as well. And we also talked a little bit about it a few months ago at the Fabric conference in Las Vegas. We also do, third-party benchmarks to help understand the comparisons with other options customers have, whether it's throughput or latency or cost as well. And that analysis also showed that Fabric and real-time intelligence was consistently cheaper than building other real-time solutions that customers have the option for in the market today. So it is a preconceived notion. It's something that people might have experienced historically if they have tried these types of solutions. But with real-time intelligence, we've been very intentional at making it affordable as well as easy to use. So kind of back to Yitzhak's point of jump in, use the trial. It comes with actually full, capacity and utilization reporting, so you can get a feel for how much your system is actually using. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised on the cost side of things. And Yitzhak, anything else you want to add to that question?
No. And yeah, as Tess said, we're going to share third-party benchmarks about cost, and it's dramatically cheaper. And that's one of the number one misconception about real-time intelligence, that's expensive. On the contrary, it's dramatically cheaper, and it's also makes savings to the organization.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tessa. And then the other question that I'm seeing from Ajay is, how does Microsoft Fabric ensure data consistency and enable users to navigate complex relationships across integrated data sets? Does it support ontologies?
I can start with this one. So one of things that we have in Microsoft Fabric is the ability to, one is see the lineage and relationship between all of your data sets. From the real-time hub, we provide insights into all of your streaming data. So that streaming data is real-time streams coming in or streaming tables that we have in Event House, and acquisition of streams from outside of Fabric itself. And as you bring those streams in, you'll get to see the correlation and lineage between those capabilities, all the way from that ingestion to alerts that may happen or across the different tables that you'll see in the Event House itself. When it comes to ontologies, I'm going to hand it off to Tessa to talk about ontologies.
Yeah, I think when we talk about ontologies, you know, the idea of having semantic information for the organization and also being able to understand entities and relationships. There's a few different ways that we support this in Fabric today. Of course, the ever popular Power BI semantic models. That's, you know, kind of a key place where we have, you know, millions of models that are taking advantage of the ability to determine entities and relationships and provide business logic and business meaning across the system. And we have a few other places across Fabric as well. And so this is a big area of opportunity investment. But as Kevin said, I think the main focus has been to make sure that users are able to really understand how all of these things are connected and related, and then give them, you know, the management capabilities that we have across Fabric as well. So, and yeah, it's like anything else to add between what Kevin and I covered?
No, nothing to add there.
All right. The next question that I have is, I know something that has been recurring. Is real-time intelligence only suitable for log, IoT data, and only for certain verticals?
Yeah, so that's in our what we call Mythbuster presentation. That's myth number 2. So we covered before that myth number 1 about price. This is myth number 2 about very specific verticals. So now, as I showed, customers that use the product today, as you've seen, it's across all verticals of the industries, and it's relevant from verticals that people might not think. So can think with any business that out there that needs to operate, that needs to take action, needs to take decision, which basically everything around us are moving into real-time intelligence. And that's where we see the growth in usage in our product, but also in general, the trend in the industry, and that's what we're hearing from the analysts and also other companies there. Going specifically to fraud, there are many use cases today in financial, in insurances, that use Fabric real-time intelligence to really do that scenario of like monitoring the signals, analyze suspicious activities, both by preset rules and or machine learning, and then take an action that involve human or not involve human. So there's quite a few scenarios there, and folks on the team, if they can share some references to customer stories there, that can answer that.
All right. The other question that I have from Taiwo is, do I need a medallion architecture for real-time intelligence within Fabric? And they're also asking, how do I also track cost on Fabric? Is it a serverless architecture, pay as you go, or a fixed monthly cost depending on SKU capacity?
Yeah, so you don't need to have a medallion architecture. It's up to you. There is multiple architectures that are available out of the box in Fabric using the flows. So there is Lambda architecture and others that you can use to really depends on your needs. There is actually a streaming medallion architecture that we can post the link to it. So you can use a streaming medallion architecture to get the data in. And we see also some customers that use, if they use medallion architecture, they use real-time intelligence as the basis for their bronze or silver layers to really do the operations for the business, and also use it to really make sure that the data quality is there. I'm sure folks here want to chime in on the medallion architecture before we go to pricing. Okay, So speaking about prices, so yeah, Fabric is a serverless architecture, pay as you go, and inside of Fabric there is capacity metrics where you can see all the meters and how they're being charged, and you can use even Fabric RealTime Intelligence to really set alerts and monitor that. So I'm sure if Tess or Svea want to add more on that.
Go ahead, Svea.
No, the only thing that we do want to mention that as part of the new enhancement of the task flow that exists today, you can start from the recommended architecture. If we go back to the question about the medallion architecture, you can start with a task flow that can guide you how to build a architecture based on RTI for event-based, but again, there are other task flow that you can use for RTI. That's it.
Yeah, and then that task flow, kind of back to our theme, I think is if you haven't already tried it, definitely get your hands on the product. As Svea mentioned, even that medallion architecture is actually kind of a guided task flow. So once you get in the product, you do the trial, you can actually use it to test it out. And then to kind of come back to the cost part, because the trial is essentially, enabling you to use all of these different pieces with, quite a capable SKU, as Yitzhak mentioned. The capacity metrics app and the other reportings will give you a feel for what items in your solution are using what capacity. And then you can also use that to help determine, what your organization might need for different solutions as well. So I think the benefit of the different pieces, as Yitzhak mentioned, really kind of empowers the solution builder to decide, what's needed from a capacity standpoint and kind of allocating it accordingly. And there's even more that we're planning on adding, like Yitzhak said, is kind of around alerting or certain events around capacity. So you'll see us kind of giving more and more capabilities for the folks that are kind of managing that side of the solution to make sure that it's really tuned for what their business needs.
All right. I love that the questions are flowing in. So we have another question from Ajay. Building operational applications is not Fabric's primary focus. What are the best Microsoft technologies or integrations that Fabric users would leverage to create such applications? Dynamics 365. Anybody, Yitzhak?
Yeah, I can take this one, and then maybe also Kevin, if you want to jump in too. So I think maybe it goes back to AJ, your definition of the operational applications. But if we're talking about parts of the business that need to be very, data driven or data powered, this is what you can leverage, the capabilities of Fabric for, and especially in real-time intelligence. So as you saw a little bit in the intros, there's the ability to listen for certain data events as it comes in and trigger certain, actions or workflows. So for example, we have different customer scenarios, in kind of the aviation airport business, when certain conditions happen, right? There's the idea of security wait lines getting too long, or maybe there's a decrease or a delay in a certain, food delivery to a certain area. And that can all be kind of monitored for, identified, and then trigger certain actions, whether it's notifications or workflows, to help resolve that particular issue. And so that type of kind of operational, application or architecture can very much be built within Fabric. And then, as you said, like other integrations and technologies, of course, Dynamics 365, being our business application platform and set of solutions, that's a key place to integrate. And then also have, maybe a more traditional app layer for an organization. But the ability for data to kind of flow from Dynamics to Fabric, and then Fabric to trigger things back in Dynamics, we have those pieces kind of integrated as well. And even more coming, I think, in this space. And yeah, Kevin, anything if you want to add to this spot?
No, I think the question is actually a little backwards. We have great operational capabilities from within Fabric. We've seen in presentations you've actually done on stage where we've had airports come in and talk about how they're monitoring and managing their luggage as it's coming into the airport itself, and it's saving them and their customers heartache from understanding what the health and speed of and tracking of those luggages are, as well as monitoring for Fabric itself actually goes through real-time intelligence. So when you want detailed monitoring of your assets in Fabric, you're actually using real-time intelligence to go and do that interrogation, and we'll make it even easier to do that for Azure assets as well.
And maybe one thing also to add here is around the data itself. So Dynamics is great for certain verticals of the industry, but if you want to have a 360 view of all your business together across your business data, across your operational data, across your engineering data, and that's where Fabric in general, and specifically real-time intelligence for your streaming and operational data comes in, and that's where you can have those applications that monitor your end-to-end of your business, and of course it leverages other products of Microsoft like Power Automate to trigger those actions and have the ecosystem there. But you can think of like Fabric, the real-time hub, and Fabric OneLake as the center place for all your streaming and also batch data. So that's where you can bring all this data in and then take the decision and action across multiple verticals of your business, not only just CRM or ERP or others.
And it's like maybe it's worth to mention that many of the operational system also in Microsoft in medium and large volume is running on top of our TI technologies. So we don't just show it, we don't just share customer stories that we will post in a minute, we also use it ourselves in real scenarios.
Correct.
All right. I think, Kevin, I have a question for you from Lewis. Can I use this under automation on Power BI, like Power Automate, or by itself?
Well, there are a couple of things. When Power Automate is a great workflow technology that allows you to integrate services and APIs. And what we're doing in real-time intelligence is taking that to a different level where we're actually integrating streams. So we can go and connect to your streaming data and have that automatically streamed into real-time intelligence in Fabric. And then with Activator, you get to act on that data, where it's constantly monitoring that data and acting as an agent for you, so that you can have triggers and rules and pretty complex rules about what's happening with that data. And then it can react to it and then have a trigger itself. And one of the things it can then do is actually trigger a Power Automate workflow so that you can call downstream systems like a ServiceNow connector, or call other systems on your estate.
All right. And then I have one question from Cloud. What are the disadvantages of using Fabric? Yitzhak, I'm looking at you.
It's fair. I understand what it mentions now, but jokes aside, so to be fair, it's a new product. So although the technology is more than 10 plus years across the Azure service that I was sharing, the product is a bit new, and that's also maybe small disadvantage, but it's also a big advantage because we're building new interfaces for make it, as the session says, democratizing all this data across the organization. And we're working closely with customers to hear the feedback and move fast and address those needs of multiple verticals. I think I lost you for a second. Am I back?
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost you for a few seconds, Yitzhak. Did you just want to repeat the last few seconds? Okay, I think it looks like Yitzhak is still frozen.
I can add just a little bit
Yes.
as well. So,
Can you hear
so
me?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's still frozen.
Okay. I'll jump in just as he was saying, the kind of newness of Fabric. Yes.
You're back.
A bit.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Internet in live sessions. So I was saying, so we are democratizing this across new and all user roles in the organization. And that's something to keep in mind, because those tools were available for a while, for many years, some of them a decade plus. And the problem is that they were not approachable to all user roles in the organizations. And the problem is that those users weren't able to unlock the power and address their business needs. And what we're doing here is really enabling this to new user roles. And there is a learning curve there, because we try something, it might be not perfect, but the opportunity here for you and all other users to give this feedback to us through Fabric ideas, and we'll address it. So it's a mutual work together to build this kind of new technology that's a bit new and nuanced, and it's not always trivial, to broader audience of users that can use it. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm not sure if Tzvia, Kevin, or Tessa want to add more.
I think there are many advantages of having Fabric. I think that it is important to say that it's a SaaS solution versus PaaS. SaaS provide you an end-to-end integration, smooth, everything is managed by the system. In most cases, it's very useful. In some cases, you do want to have a full control over your data, a full control over your SKUs or the parameters and settings. And this is something that definitely is coming, but again, it's evolving, and we are focusing on the SaaS capabilities of this portfolio.
Yeah, and maybe one last piece that I was adding, I also put the idea of submitting ideas, as Yitzhak mentioned. That is a huge one. We are iterating so quickly based off of feedback for customers. So that is a big opportunity that you can leverage. And I think the question was from Cloud, if there are things, disadvantages, say, you hit, or things that you wish were better, definitely submit the idea, and we work across the team to prioritize it. I think maybe one last one, and this is both kind of a disadvantage, but also an opportunity, very similar to what Tzvia mentioned as well, is that because there are like Fabric is so capable, there's so many different pieces that are in it. Sometimes it can almost be overwhelming for a user. Where do I start? How do I take advantage of the platform? But the benefit is actually that you don't have to use all the pieces all at once. And so users really have that opportunity to focus on their, the first business scenario that's going to get them value. As Tzvia mentioned, using the SaaS, the managed service, very quickly see the value in their particular solution. And then you can choose, do you want to expand to use other pieces of Fabric or not? The option's really, really up to you. So maybe, again, if we're looking at not everything being hunky-dory, maybe those are some particular areas, but as hopefully you've heard, there's ways that we're both evolving and then working obviously very closely with our customers to keep evolving on it as well.
And Tessa, just one point on that. Some customer ask, do we need to start with everything? Do we need to do a full migration? Do we need to start with all the components of Fabric or end-to-end solution for Fabric real-time intelligence? And it is important to say that you don't need to start with that. You can start with something small. You can start with one flow or stream, and then you can decide how to grow. It's not all or nothing. There are many beautiful ways in between to start with a Fabric real-time intelligence.
Exactly.
All right, amazing. Thank you again for a detailed response there. I see one more question from Automation Information Consulting. Have you looked at process monitoring for plant operations? Process historians are well entrenched in those industries and offer very good performance for machine monitoring, mirroring, or shortcuts.
Yeah, so actually there's quite a few customers of ours in Europe, in Switzerland, in France, and also in the US that use Fabric real-time intelligence to be their so-called cloud historians, or connect their data from the on-premise historians to the cloud using Fabric real-time intelligence, and really do the factory modernization using Fabric real-time intelligence, and really gain the insights behind all this data that was locked in the on-prem space, and they weren't able to unlock those insights. And those are very cost-effective solutions, and there's patterns there and presentations that we can share offline. But that's a very common pattern scenario that we hear from the manufacturing space, like how they're thinking about the future of manufacturing and how they modernize that using Fabric Real-Time Intelligence. And actually, speaking of conferences, at the FabCon conference in Stockholm last year, there was a company that co-presented with us, Fresenius, which is a biomedical company, and they were sharing their story, how they were able to find insights and the inefficiencies in the way they were running their plants across the globe with a specific drug that they were manufacturing and using Fabric Real-Time Intelligence. They were able to find this anomaly and really save the money. So yes, there's a lot of scenarios around manufacturing and using cloud historians with Fabric Real-Time Intelligence.
And one of the things to consider, if I may add to that, is as you're thinking about your devices on-prem, we have patterns and connectors to be able to directly connect to those devices so that you can then consolidate your devices from those on-premises into the cloud or through gateway. So we have connectors for MQTT, and so if your MQTT has a broker on-prem or through a gateway, as well as MQTT broker in the cloud with EventGrid, we can get that data directly into real-time intelligence.
All right. I do see one more question here. What's the cost of switching our databases from Azure SQL databases to Fabric database? I'm not sure if we can cover this one. Yitzhak, did you have any comments on this one? Or is this something that we can park for now?
We can park for now, but we can put a link for the calculator that people can see the cost, how it will be cost to convert it. So we can put it in the chat.
But Priyanka, maybe if we are talking about migration, because they ask about SQL databases, but there are tools that helps customers to do fully automated migration also from existing Azure Data Explorer, for example, to EventHouse. And there are other tools that can help customers that would like to do this migration easily, and it's out there, so they can use it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Via. And then I know we get this question a lot. It's another recurring question. How is real-time intelligence related to the existing Azure offerings, Azure Event Hubs, Azure Stream Analytics, Azure Data Explorer? Kevin, did you want to take that one, or Yitzhak, whoever?
Sure. So one of the things that we've done as we created real-time intelligence is take the great work that we've already done in Azure and use that as the basis for the technology that we're providing to you. So we have, for example, in Event Hubs and Stream Analytics, we use those and combine those together to create event streams. And so the power behind event streams is actually using those services put together, and we've abstracted all the complexities of how to integrate those components and make it much more intuitive so that we can raise the bar in democratizing how people do streaming in their data analytics world in this real time world. And so you're actually getting the power of those Azure services, but just in a unified and simplified environment that it's all very well integrated. And then it also uses Azure Data Explorer underneath the Event House, and Sophia can go and talk about how that's leveraged.
So yeah, definitely Azure Data Explorer and EventHouse share the same common engine. But for EventHouse, we added many layers of experiences to help our customer to ramp up faster as a SaaS solution. Also, all the optimization of the settings and beautiful visualization tools and auto render of dashboards, and of course the AI with Copilot. And everything is supported also with code, but also with visual capabilities that help you to understand what is the status of your event house and the databases. At any point, you have a full monitoring solution that is available to also to understand what is your status of your data, the latency, the queries, and everything. So as a SaaS solution, in EventHouse, we invested a lot to connect also with other Fabric components, including Power BI, including Notebook, AI skill as well. So yes, both of them share the same engine, the same capabilities, the same language. One of them is the solution, and the other has the SaaS capabilities that I just shared.
Maybe something to add there is that not only because of it's a SaaS, we're taking care of all the management and overhead there, but also as Tzvia and Kevin were mentioning, it's a fully integrated solution. And that means that, as I was saying, you don't need to build the solution yourself. But more than that, we are investing a lot, making sure that this solution works to different roles in the organization. So the original past services were more focused on the data engineers and developers, but we want to democratize and enable also business users and analysts to be able to work with this kind of data and really unlock the insights behind this data. So there's a lot of new capabilities that we are releasing as part of our RealTime Intelligence that are not available in the existing PaaS services. So that's one thing. Another thing is around AI. All the new capabilities around out-of-the-box anomaly detection and machine learning are coming as part of Fabric Real-Time Intelligence to really unlock the power behind it. So before that, you would need to have data scientists that will write those algorithms. You get this out of the box. And also integration with LLMs and agents, operational agents that I was mentioning, those are all coming in Fabric Real-Time Intelligence to really enable and bring those solutions to the era of AI.
All right. And then I do see another question from Data Evangelist. What is the most interesting use case you have seen so far with this workload in Microsoft Fabric? That's an interesting one. Anybody can take it.
I think all of us should take it. It feels like
Yeah.
asking who is your favorite child. That's a tough one.
It's a tough.
I will choose one. Just to give the simplicity and the power of it. One of our customers is 1NZ, which is the largest telecommunication company in New Zealand. And the interesting use case there is about show how really Democratize enables business users to act on this data. And the story behind the scenario is in the call center itself, the analysts, they were seeing that there is decline in customer satisfaction, and the calls are getting, the wait time is getting longer and longer. And they wanted to improve that, but they didn't have the tools to do it before. And they heard about Fabric Real-Time Intelligence. They're coming from the Power BI space. And they were able to create a solution that were able to monitor the satisfaction of those calls in near real time and really reassign agents when it happens. And the interesting part there is not about the use case, which is like typical, but I think the amount of time it took them to go to production was in 3 weeks. And that shows the power, like how really enable users who are not data engineers or developers really to utilize the data that they had before in the organization, but really generate value to themselves. So that's kind of an interesting use case.
I will go next because, yeah, it's a great question. And, I think that everyone is interesting story because, each story has its own uniqueness. But among all the stories that we have, I will take the horse races, which is actually you're familiar. A couple of times every year there are races of all the luxury cars around the world, also in Europe and in Brazil. And they are in the past they used to have a discount kid that took the data after the race, and they need to analyze, and it took hours until they understand what was wrong. And now once they move to real-time intelligence in Fabric, everything is done in real time. They are just sending the data from the car during the race into their beautiful dashboards, understand what is happening with the car, with the driver, can make optimization, and it actually also reduce the cost, but make all the race and all the experience much better. They have a full control over the operational of the car, and again, same rhythm. they move from a pilot to production in 2 weeks. This is another magical numbers that is return between all our customers, many of our customers.
I'll maybe on the interesting use case, like the 2 seconds we already mentioned are great ones. Another fun one, and not just, it's fun kind of how the story started, but it provides real business impact for this customer. So at FabCon, we were able to partner and present with the team from Avinor, which is airlines, airports supported out of Norway. And the team there was able to self-learn Fabric. They jumped into the service, the managed services we talked about, even starting with the trials that we've mentioned today, and were able to, identify issues and opportunities specifically with their baggage handling. And even on LinkedIn, if you see, she posted some great pictures and videos of actually being down in the kind of luggage sorting area with her laptop up, looking at their real-time dashboard. And as they're scanning the different luggages that's coming through, as the system's updating how much is still on the belt upstairs coming through, they can actually see it real time. And so the actual, operators on the ground were able to get a lot more information that previously, they've been flying blind for. So that was a great kind of scenario that they were able to get into and get business value very quickly. And then now they're looking at other scenarios and other opportunities that they can take advantage of. And these are, the real customer stories, the production solutions that we're talking about. I do want to just do a quick plug. There's also a whole series of, hackathons and capabilities that are posted and available across Fabric solutions. And there was one, I think, that just kind of closed at the beginning of the month that used EventHouse and some of the other real-time intelligence capabilities to actually build, a full RAG-powered virtual agent to support, the higher education fund analysis that's possible. So anyways, there's lots of great kind of customer stories. There's even ideas and solutions coming directly from the community through our hackathons. So lots of too many favorites or interesting ideas, to even list them all today. But Kevin, if you're back, we're kind of going through everybody's most interesting use case that we've seen build in Fabric and real-time intelligence.
Yeah. Thanks, Tessa. I mean, one of the things that I want to share is the scenario with the London Stock Exchange. And one of the things that's not obvious as we talk about real-time intelligence is the ability to build event-driven architectures using the events that bubble up from the system. And so one of the things they were able to do was use the job events that get emitted through real-time intelligence and those Fabric events to go and understand when their pipeline jobs were stopped running. And that created those messages went through an event stream. Those messages then got sent to an activator, which then had a rule to check if the job was running and then actually kicked off the job again. So it acted as a self-monitoring system as well. So our real-time intelligence capabilities really extends not to just streaming capabilities and deep analytics, but also to these events that you can go and react to in real time.
All right. I know we are close to the top of the hour. I'll take one last question from Findulo. Adding a couple of questions here. We hear a lot. Is real-time intelligence included in Microsoft Fabric's trial of free tiers? How do you recommend going about testing real-time intelligence? And I know we spoke to this a little bit earlier as well, Tessa, but is there anything else beyond what you have already shared that you'd like to add?
Maybe I just want to emphasize how easy it is to sign up for the trial. There's no, credit card required. Literally, if you go to the Microsoft Fabric website, there's going to be a big button that kind of says, start trial, sign up now. And that will take you very quickly into the product. That's one of the things that we focus on quite a bit, about making sure there's that ease of use. The barrier to entry of just trying it out is very, very low. And then as you said, Priyanka, we've talked about this a few times, the trial comes with quite a generous SKU of capabilities. And so you're able to try everything across Fabric, all the different different workloads across Fabric, especially and including real-time intelligence. And then so if you take that along with some of the tutorials that we've published, or maybe a business scenario you're already interested in and you want to kind of poke around and try it out, you're able to very quickly kind of jump in and get started. When it comes to that testing and endpoint or testing part of the question, that's also kind of integrated. Each of the features, have some of the monitoring that Savia mentioned. Of course, there's the pricing, the capacity metrics that we mentioned as well. And so just as you use Fabric, you'll also be able to get the information that's helping you kind of test and understand, how it might work for you in a real production scenario. So just to emphasize really the ease of use of using that trial, Priyanka, and really suggesting everyone try it out today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Tessa. We'll take the rest of the questions later. We are at the top of the hour almost, and I know Yitzhak wanted to wrap it up with a few slides. So Yitzhak, back to you.
Sounds good. So going to continue to the last question, how you can start and learn. So first of all, we're investing a lot in the documentation, making sure it's easy to find. So I would start first with our technical documentation. And from there, there is learning paths that you can try and really getting your hands dirty and working with the product and understand how it works. And from there, you can earn your skills in Fabric Real-Time Intelligence. It gives you kind of a bit of a confidence that you know the product, you show that you're able to use it. And the last but not least is the full certification of DP700 that goes into depth of how the product works, Fabric Collab, and there is a very elaborated sessions around real-time intelligence specifically. And we are working on more advanced learning paths specifically for real-time intelligence at level 400 that we'll be sharing more at Build. As sharing before also, there is a good starting point for all of you to start. There is a free of charge real-time intelligence in a day workshop that you can join. Use the link here, the QR code, and you can really kind of get a full day experience workshop hosted by our partners where you can learn and get first-hand experience with the product there. So highly recommend this. This is free of charge, and you will get your questions answered, and you will get to experience the product. And Build is around the corner next week. Who can imagine that? And there is a lot of sessions around Fabric Collab and real-time intelligence. So our session is there. So if you are there in person, join us. If not, some of them will be recorded. There is cool demos at Pelang and labs. So use the time if you're signing up to Build to join those sessions and get more in depth. And again, I really want to thank everyone here on the call, people that organized it and hosted it and answered the questions. And also to thank you everyone that asked those questions and used the product and continue to bring us the feedback to make the product better. So thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you for all of your expertise and for a wonderful session. We are always interested to hear what you have to say. So we have put our feedback survey on the screen, and we would appreciate you taking the time to give us your thoughts. If you do, you just want to reference today's event code, which is 24591. Once again, that's 24591. And thank you to all of the team for a great session, and thank you all for attending. We appreciate your time, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great day.